Our eNCA reporters are across the country covering this one-of-a-kind by-election. Of course, I'm joined at this point by Khayelihle Khumalo, who is in Vereeniging, as well as my colleague Monique Mortlock, who is in Philippi. Good morning to you two colleagues. But let me start with you, Monique, and let's talk about perhaps the expected, turnout. I understand, if my figures are correct here, that there are at least more than 18,000 registered voters within the area where you stand. But, I mean, at this point, do you see anyone coming through? And perhaps maybe let me leave it from Monique and move to Khayelihle Khumalo, because I seem to not be getting hold of Monique at this point. Kaya, from where you stand right now, I mean, how's it looking in terms of that voter turnout?
Well, by all accounts, Dumela, so we're right here in Mfuleni. In fact, Ward 16 to be precise, in Randfontein. Obviously, this is one of the municipalities here in Gauteng that is facing a string of challenges. In terms of the activities, currently, obviously, the party agents have arrived and the doors have officially been opened here as well. So we've seen a couple of voters streaming in, looking quite upbeat about the day ahead. But joining us now is the DA regional chair in this particular area. That's, of course, Dennis Ryder. So, Dennis, obviously, when you look at Mfuleni municipality, it's facing a myriad of challenges. So let us look at the pressing issues for the community here.
Good morning. Yes, thank you very much. I think that it's fairly well documented, and there's been a big outcry recently. Mfuleni really has been facing challenges for many years now, and it's recently come to a head. So we're having Eskom shutting down power because of non-payment of account. We've had Randwater as well, reducing the water supply to the area, which has had a massive impact on many residents. But really a total degradation of services, potholes everywhere, no maintenance happening. And yes, so the province has been asked to step in terms of the intervention that they're supposed to be busy with. We've even had the national government try and step in to fix things. They sent the SANDF here to deal with the sewer issues. Sadly, they did a fantastic job at the pump station, but or at the main treatment works, but the pump stations are not operating, so you can't get the sewage to flow up to the treatment works. So yes, I think that people are getting desperate. People are tired of the bad service delivery that they're experiencing here, and hopefully we will have people changing things a little bit at the ballot box today.
And also just let us look at this ward. So you're trying to retain it because one of your councillors resigned. Do you think you have been able to garner as much vote as possible this time around?
Yes, I think we've done our preparation. Unfortunately, what's happened is that during the lockdown, a large informal settlement, people were encouraged to come here by the ANC's candidate in this ward, and they've established themselves in a large informal settlement. So we had about 900 to 1,200 new people registering over the registration weekend recently. It looks like that's going to affect the vote. Hopefully we've managed to talk to them and turn them to our side, and they'll be voting for improvement in service delivery based on the DA's good track record. We're right next to Midval, which is a shining example of good service delivery, and hopefully the people can see that the DA difference can come and improve their lives. So we hope that we've done enough to retain the ward. It's always been a fairly marginal ward, and we just need to make sure that every person who's going to vote DA comes out today and makes their mark.
And just before I let you go, Dennis, are you pretty satisfied with the measures that have been put by IEC? I mean, it's a very extraordinary time. We're still facing COVID-19.
So I think that certainly the COVID-19 protocols are all in place, and the IEC has been doing a good job of making sure those things have happened. They were here early this morning. They're well set up. The people have been well trained. So I'm quite happy with the IEC on the ground here today. Less happy with their administrative processes in the provincial office, but certainly on the ground they're doing a great job.
All right, Dennis, thank you so much indeed. So he's the regional chair right here, of course, in Randfontein, and that's where we are coming from. So obviously hive of activity here, and a lot of people are excited, and of course the IEC has called on people to make sure that it becomes a credible and legitimate process.
Absolutely. Well, on that note, let me move now to Monique Mortlock, my colleague, who is, of course, in this moment based in Cape Town. Monique, I mean, earlier on I had asked that at least approximately 18,000 registered voters expected in the area where you are in, rather. at this moment. How's the voter turnout? Because I understand this is a community that is desperate for better living conditions.
Yes, I am in Ward 88 at one of the voting stations here in Philippi at the Itemba Labantu Lutheran Community Centre. Since my colleague and I have been here, we haven't seen any voters turning up yet, so it's quite quiet where we are at the moment. In 2016, during those by-elections, there was a voter turnout of about 52%, and when we were in the area yesterday speaking to residents, speaking to community leaders to find out from them what are some of the most pressing issues, they told us just basic services like electricity, clean toilets, proper refuse removal is what they are looking for. Also housing, which is something that has been quite a pressing issue here in the Cape Metro over the last couple of months. We've seen land invasions, we've seen protests over open pieces of land, illegal occupation of open parcels of land. So housing, number one, the number one issue facing residents here in Ward 88, where it is comprised of mainly informal settlements. Some of the people I spoke to did say they will not be voting today because they've lost faith in the system, and this is indicative of where I'm standing right now. It's quiet at the voting station, but it is still early morning. The polls only opened at 7. It's still a long day. Maybe some people are on their way to work. They might still be coming. But from what we've seen so far in terms of the processes that the IEC has put in place at this specific voting station, everything seems to be in order. As they've stated, we've seen sanitizers at the doorway, an IEC official standing there sanitizing anyone who enters, whether it be an official or a member of the public coming to ask questions. We see inside, the ballot boxes are obviously spaced apart as they always are, but there's this heightened sense of awareness that social distancing needs to be maintained. Everyone who enters the venue can't do so without a mask.
Indeed. Well, of course, those measures have to be strictly adhered to during this time. But let me come to Govan Whittles. Now, you're in an area, colleague, which is highly contested at this point. The Patriotic Alliance saying that they believe they have more of an advantage within Lenasia as well as Rivoli. Take me through what you see on the ground in terms of that voter turnout as well.
Good morning. Yeah, we're coming to you from Rivoli, and this is a contested space. And what's at stake here is possibly control of the coalition council in the city of Johannesburg. I'm outside the Wilhelmina Hoskins Primary School in Rivoli, and you'll see that a number of political parties are vying for the votes of this community. And this is important because at the moment the ANC is governing the city of Johannesburg through a coalition and a majority of just one seat. That seat is given to them by the Patriotic Alliance. And most recently, the PA and the ANC have had a very public fallout over their selection of certain appointments in the economic development portfolio of the city, and they've decided to part ways. So the Patriotic Alliance is now trying to increase the number of seats it has in the city council through these by-elections so that it could hand control of the council to the Democratic Alliance. So this is a Democratic Alliance controlled ward. Its by-elections were forced after resignation from the DA ward councillor in this area. So on the one hand, you have the Patriotic Alliance, which has done a lot of campaigning in this area, repairing flood damage, also helping out people at their homes at their own expense. While on the other hand, the ANC sent their Deputy Secretary General, Jesse Duarte, as well as other senior leadership to this area to try and shore up support from the coloured community. This, as the Patriotic Alliance, is really targeting coloured communities and trying to gain some support. So the ANC hoping they'll take it from the DA, the Patriotic Alliance confident that they'll take it from the DA, and then of course the DA hoping to retain control of this ward. There's a lot happening here. The IEC is inside. They've got COVID-19 protocols in place, and they're expected to see a lot more people coming into the voting queue. So far we've counted about 10 or 12, but it is still early days and certainly very busy here in Rivoli this morning.
Indeed. Well, of course, that time with which South Africans have to vote starts starting from 7 a.m. until 9 p.m. The day is still quite long, but thank you so much. Khayelihle Khumalo, Monique Mortlock and Gervin Whittles.